I just got back from my first trip down to the new house. Tiny, Charlotte, Ragnar, and Pumpkin are now safe and sound in Colorado. It was a very quick trip. I just went down there, dropped the cats off, and then turned right around and came back. I took one day to kind of rest, recover, and pack up the rest of my things. I still have a lot of stuff at the barn, which will go down on a later trip, but today I'm going to prepare the horses. The next trip I will be making, which will leave tomorrow bright and early in the morning, is going to be with Frisco and Nigel. I'm feeling a little bit less worried now that I have the cats all moved, but moving Frisco and Nigel, who are both quite old, is going to be a little bit of an extra stressor for me. I know Frisco very well. We've traveled a lot together, so I have some things in place that should help him as we make the trip. Nigel is going to be a bit of a wild card. I think he has traveled quite a bit, but since I've had him, he really hasn't gone anywhere. We have been getting a ton of rain, so part of my chores today is going to be fixing up the dry lots and making sure all of the horses that are staying behind this trip have everything they need. Frisco Bill, you okay, old boy? You okay, old boy? You okay, old boy? It's all right, old boy. I had a tiny bit of a change in plans since it's been so crisp and cool in the morning. There have been a lot of hot air balloons out flying. Typically, they land right in the fields around the pastures, but today it kind of looks like they're headed right for the farthest pasture. None of the horses are too freaked out by it. They do see hot air balloons quite frequently, but Frisco Bill was having a little bit of a panic around it. I don't talk about it very much, but Frisco is blind in one eye. He's been like that since he was 3 or 4 years old, but sometimes it does make him a little bit extra spooky about things. It looks like the boys are also getting pretty excited over in their pen. I'm a little bit surprised that Ziggy, Scarlet, and Prim aren't more excited about what's going on. It looks pretty far away in the video, but it is actually quite close. These three are just finishing up their breakfast, and Ziggy's on the other side of the fence out in the pasture. And it definitely looks like they are landing in the farthest pasture. Hopefully they get on the other side of the fence. It's really not a big deal if they land in the fence. There's a gate they can drive through and pick up their balloon, but it's kind of annoying because the horses can be really scared of something like this. As they got closer to the ground, I could hear them letting out more fuel, so I think they're trying to hop over the fence just to make it easier to gather up their balloon and basket. I think the horses were more scared of that sound than the actual balloon itself. I'm pretty proud that Scarlet was able to keep a level head, but as soon as the balloon started to collapse, Ziggy thought the best way to tackle this intruder was to prance around. While I love to see these horses run around, I wish they would have kept it a little bit calmer right before we're ready to leave. The ground is pretty wet and I did not want them to slip. Zig? It's really nice to finally see Ziggy feel really comfortable out in his little herd. With Frisco Bill being so down about Pearl, I had thought about turning him out with these three, but chances are he would not be able to keep up. Even though Ziggy is a little bit older, he is still 10 years younger than Frisco is. While I'm traveling down south taking Nigel and Frisco, these three will be staying in their dry lot just to make sure we don't have any escapees or accidents while I'm gone. It'll be much easier for my horse sitter to keep an eye on them, and that way the boys can have free range of the pasture and hopefully they won't pick on each other too much. Even though I do have a lot of stuff to pack and get ready, it was pretty nice to watch these three run around for a little bit this morning. Naturally, as soon as they were done running around, Ziggy decided to coat himself in yet another layer of grime.
Why, Zig? Why?
They did get pretty heated up, and you can actually see the steam rising off of them this morning. Where we're moving is quite a bit more south, so we should have a little bit more summer and fall left this year. In Montana, I'm pretty sure we've already had our first hard frost. Pretty much all of the bugs are gone. I haven't really looked too closely at the weather in the part of the country that we're moving, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to get below freezing for another couple of months, so that will be really nice. I don't think it's going to have too much of an effect on the horses. They haven't started growing their winter coats yet. That whole process is actually dictated by the amount of light left, so they'll probably start growing their winter coats a bit after we get down to Colorado. It doesn't take the horses very long to acclimate to the really tough Montana winter, so most of them do grow an extra thick hair coat. I'll be really interested to see if that still happens when we move. As you guys can see, I have a ton of stuff still left in the barn. All of the feed bins I need to pack up sometime. I moved everything from my office out into the aisle. There's just a few things left in here. Right now, my plan is to take Frisco and Nigel down, come back, escort the other horses down with either another horse trailer load full of things or the flatbed. After that, I should have to make 1 or 2 more trips just to get everything cleared out of here. As I go through the list of chores, I see that the hot air balloon is finally being packed up, and I'm actually heading into town to get a few things. I know a few of you guys are going to miss hearing the train. It's pretty close to where the horses are, but it is kind of a pain when you're in a hurry and you need to get things done. This morning I got stuck behind it for about 15 minutes, but that's not a big deal. It gave me time to think about what I needed to get at the store. I was having a little bit of deja vu as I was back in the Costco picking up more cat litter, things for traveling. My mom is coming out to Colorado to help me with Frisco and Nigel, so I bought a few things for our new guest room. The horses did go through their big giant square bales while I was down delivering the cats, so I had to go to the local feed store to get enough hay to get all of the horses through the next trip. Frisco and Nigel do have a bunch of the older, normal, straight alfalfa. This feed store hay is pretty comparable. It does have some grass in it, but it should be perfect for the other horses to enjoy on the trip and to get fed while I'm away. It'll be a little bit more work for the horse sitter, but she is more than capable, and I think that this will be perfect. I really don't like getting small bales from the feed store. It is probably the most expensive way to buy hay. These bales that I got are almost 100 pounds and they're $20 a piece. That puts this hay at around $400 a ton, which is pretty high for this area. I know some of you guys are wishing that you could buy that cheap of hay. Getting hay for the horses once we reach our destination is something that I did do a little bit of investigating on before we moved there. I do have some friends in the area and I'm pretty familiar with their hay season down there, so I don't think I'll have any trouble getting hay this late in the season. I do think it is probably going to be a bit more expensive for me. Typically, my hay guy just brings over my hay for the year and it's really convenient and I get a really good price on it. It is very odd for me to pay more than $200 a ton. I haven't crunched the numbers yet, but because the climate is so much better where we're moving in Colorado, I'm anticipating my hay cost to be less, even though the hay is going to be more expensive. Of course, the new place does have quite a bit of pasture. It is not in good shape right now, but probably by next spring or summer, I'll be able to put the horses out on it. Frisco Bill is going to need all the help he can get on this trip, so I've decided to give him another round of Adequan. I started it a few days ago and I planned it so he'll have the most amount of extra cushion in his joints as we're traveling. In the very simplest of terms, this is going to help reduce the inflammation in his joints and keep this old boy's arthritis in check for as long as possible. I've used this stuff for years on auction horses that maybe haven't had the best care, and very seldomly does it not make a huge difference in the horses. Even though Frisco is very well traveled, he's been all around the country. That kind of stuff we used to do when both of us were a lot younger, so I'm really interested to see if he is able to go on the whole entire trailer ride in one day. The reason that I'm taking Nigel and Frisco separate is that if they are really struggling, we can stop for an extended amount of time just to let them rest on the trailer. In the event that I need to unload them and let them rest for a longer amount of time, that is something that I have planned for as well. Generally, Frisco does really well if he's just allowed to stop and stand and rest and eat on a trailer that's not moving. That way he gets a chance to rest his muscles. For this trip, Nigel is going to be in the very front of the trailer in the stud stall. He'll have a wall dividing him from Frisco from the floor to the ceiling, basically. While it's not a big enough space for him to lay down or turn around, it should give him enough area to move and keep his joints limber. Over the years, on some of our longer hauls, I have tried to let Frisco get off and overnight at certain places, and he just gets way too stressed out being in a new place. It takes him a really long time to settle down and adjust to a new area, and then getting him up and moving him again the next day is probably going to be more stress for him than is necessary. I haven't really decided on the route we're taking since we are going through Montana, we're going through Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and then finally Colorado. There are some really big mountains that we could go over or go maybe a little bit easier route. It is pretty hard work for the horse's muscles just to balance on a flat road on the highway. Adding additional steep mountain passes that can be pretty windy is going to exhaust these two old boys pretty quickly. Right now, I'm planning on going a route that doesn't extend their time on the trailer too much, but it will give them a rest from some of the more tricky mountain passes. This time of year, there is still a bunch of road construction going on as well, and I'm going to try and avoid having Frisco and Nigel stand on the trailer for an unnecessary length of time being stuck in traffic. Unfortunately, no matter which route we take, we're going to have to go through Salt Lake City, which is one of my least favorite places to drive. Going through the city is like 7 lanes of
Boy,
traffic.
Zig.
People drive much more aggressively than they do in Montana, and of course, there's tons more people. When I took the cats down, I left later than I had anticipated, and I ended up driving right through Salt Lake City during a very busy time. I've planned it out in my head that if we leave sometime between 3 and 5 a.m., then we'll be right in the sweet spot when we're getting to the city. In all honesty, it's probably going to be harder on me than it is on the horses. I do not do well driving in that much traffic. With my plan pretty solid in my head now, there are a few things I've got to get ready before we're actually ready to leave. I am going to drag the rest of these dry lots and make the footing a little bit nicer for these boys. Since the horse sitter did watch the horses a few days ago while I was taking the cats, there are just a few adjustments that I need to make for her. The front tack room of my trailer is filled to the gills, so there's really nothing else that I can pack up for this trip. I am going to put a few things in the back of my truck from the house, but other than that, I think I'm ready to go. One thing that is important that I am going to pack up last is all of my emergency drugs. I've got a little to-go container for Frisco and Nigel. They will be offered mashes on the road just to stay hydrated. Something I've tested out the last couple of years for some of the auction horses is this hydration hay. They're little compressed hay blocks that are pretty handy to have when you don't have the space for a big bale of hay. Unfortunately, as I was going through my last minute checks, I filled up my water containers and found that they did have holes in them. I'm glad I noticed that sooner rather than later because I do still have enough time to go into REI and get another container for the trip. I bought these super handy collapsible buckets thinking I could slide them in through the slats for the horses and then fill them up, but since I only have 2 of these horses and they're pretty well behaved, I can go inside the trailer with them, so I won't need these buckets. After stuffing in a few emergency roadside things, I am going to put a little bit of grease inside of my gooseneck. On a long trailer ride like this, it's important to reduce friction. Your equipment will last longer and it'll reduce the risk of anything sparking and catching on fire. I'm trying not to look around at the barn too much because there are a few things that I am leaving in complete disarray. I've got so many different things on my mind right now. I'm trying to plan for getting the barn cleaned up. Is going to have to wait until my next trip. When I finally had the trailer ready to go, all of the boys were situated and I felt like I could take a little bit of a breather. I just went about the evening chores. Compared to this morning, it turned into a really beautiful day. All of the preparations for this day are finally over, and while I should be able to relax, I am still really nervous about hauling Frisco and Nigel. For those of you that are new to the channel, Frisco is 30 years old. I've had him his entire life, and Nigel is quite a bit older than Frisco, and I don't really have a good history on him. Our trip is probably going to take at least 12 hours, so that is a very long time for a horse, especially one that is so old to be on the trailer. I've got one more last check to do before I head home and get some sleep. I want to be as rested as possible when I wake up bright and early to take the first load of horses down to the new property.
Come on in, buddy. Good boys. Frisco, Bill? You ready, old boy? Ready to go, old boy? Nigel. Good boy. Oh, scaredy cat. It's okay, Nigel. It's all right, little buddy. Nigel.
I made it to the barn right before 4 o'clock. All of the horses were a little bit suspicious. Nigel needed a little extra help getting caught, but he loaded up onto the trailer better than I had ever imagined he would. Frisco was tied in the barn for moral support, but after one little sniff and some encouragement, he hopped right in. I'm the kind of person that prepares for the worst case scenario, so when everything goes exactly right, it is a huge relief. There is a little bit of a gap underneath the stud divider, so I am going to put a hay bale here just to prevent Nigel from getting his legs stuck if he does lay down. I decided to put a big rubber tub in with him so I could contain his mash on the road. Frisco was tied in the barn this entire time, and I can hear that he's getting a little bit impatient. Frisco does love trailer rides. He likes going new places, so I think he'll be excited for this one.
Come on, old boy.
While I think he's doing a little bit better, the last couple of days have been tough on him. He's missing Pearl. He probably is not in the best shape to be making this trip. I tried to give him a bunch of days to recover from being upset about Pearl, but this was the very last possible day that we could travel. I'll probably get some questions about this, but I decided to put Frisco in a slant because of all of the mountainous terrain we're going to be covering. Instead of hauling a horse loose, it is important that they have something to lean up against while they're balancing. Of course, he could do this if the rest of the trailer was open, but this is how Frisco is used to traveling, so it should be a bit easier on his body. After Nigel and Frisco were loaded up, I just had to back the gator back into the barn, and I was all set to head out on the road. I usually get up pretty early, never this early unless there is something special I'm heading to. I was heading to leave and I realized that you guys are probably going to want to come with me. Because our route does have quite a bit of road construction and mountain passes, there is a wide variety of times which this whole trip could take. The beginning part of our travel in the dark, we went through West Yellowstone and then popped out into Idaho. The sun was just starting to come up as we went past the Tetons. Our first stop was not really for the horses. I drank too much coffee and needed to stop, but it was the perfect time to do my first check of the horses. They both seem to be doing really well, so I am going to head on down the road and continue our trip.
Hey, Nigel. How are you, little buddy? Hey, little dude. You okay? Frisco Bill.
In a quarter mile, merge onto I-15 South.
On this trip, I have a lot of stops planned. Thankfully, there are quite a few along our route. Most of the time, I'm just stopping to stretch my legs and get a snack. These boys just stand on the trailer, but our next stop, I'm gonna stop for a longer period of time. They're gonna get their mash and hopefully take a tiny little nap.
Oh boy.
Both of these old boys are hauling really well. They're not eating too much yet. When I made it to our first big stop to get some fuel and give these boys their mash, we were in Pocatello, Idaho.
Nigel.
Although
boy.
completely filthy from his
Boy, little
efforts
buddy.
to ruin all of my bathing, Nigel did seem to be in pretty good spirits.
Oh boy.
For Frisco, it's pretty normal
Okay,
for
that's
him
not bad.
not to want to eat on the trailer, and it doesn't look like he's been snacking at all. I decided to go ahead and put his mash inside the trailer with him to have as he wants. It is pretty normal for Frisco to not eat anything until we've been on the road for several hours. Since I don't have a full load, it's really easy to
How you
pop
doing,
in
old
and
boy?
check to make sure that he's pooping and it looks normal. He is a little bit
you're
grouchy
staying in.
this morning. This gas station is a little bit more busy than I would like. I'm just gonna dump out his water that I offered him onto his hay. He'll get this later and hopefully it'll help everything keep moving along. I prepped their mashes for the next stop in the back of the truck. I checked on them one more time after I parked them into a secluded spot for a nap, and then I went in to get myself a little bit of a refreshment. I'm pretty lucky that I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit with the horses, so going to a rest area and getting in a routine at a gas station is not something new to me. While preparing for traveling, I did think about
Boy,
packing
Nigel.
a cooler, but it's just so much easier to get food as we're going along. I wanted to give these two the chance to just stand and be still on the trailer, and they took a little bit of a nap, and then it was time to head out again. I always like to stop for a break right before I drive into Salt Lake. It gives me a little bit of time to prepare mentally. At this stop, we did end up parking next to some other horses that were traveling that were very interested in Nigel. When Nigel loaded himself onto the trailer, he did want to ride butt first, and that is totally fine. I think it probably helps him balance on the hills. At this point in time, we have been traveling for around 7 hours, so we are at the halfway mark. I did have a few rest stops around Salt Lake that I had on my map just in case Frisco and Nigel were not doing well. After we made it through the city and to our next stop, it was pretty clear that these two boys were settling in and feeling a lot more comfortable in their travels. Frisco finally started munching on his moist hay and his mash that I put in for him. I met a really nice guy at the gas station that wanted to say hello to Frisco Bale.
Where's your horse going?
While I don't really like blocking the pumps at a gas station, it was really important for these
Little
two to
buddy.
be able to stop and have a meal and just relax after driving through the city. The next part of the trip does have another little mountain pass, and then we do get into the desert, so it's going to be a little bit more warm. I feel a lot better about Frisco and Nigel staying hydrated after seeing them eat some mash at this stop. As we pulled into one of our last stops in the desert, it looked like these two boys were traveling really well. I got both of them to drink some water. They are eating their mash, so I'm feeling a lot better that our trip is going to continue very smoothly. This whole summer I've been having trouble with my neck and my back, but those both feel really good right now. Every time I stop for the horses, I of course get out and walk around as well, so I think that has really been helping me on this trip. As we get closer to the new property, all of the stress and anxiety that I have had in preparation is melting away as I realize pretty soon my two old boys are going to be at the new place. With the inputs and the outputs both looking good, it is time to hit the road again, and we should be there in the next couple of hours.
Road, North Horse Canyon.
Frisco Bill. You hungry, old boy? He's hungry. Good boy.
By the time we reached the new property, Nigel was full of himself. He is typically a very well-behaved little pony, even if he does have a little bit of sass every now and then. As he stepped off the trailer, he announced himself like I have never seen him do before. After traveling all day, my back and my hips really started to hurt, so I was pretty cautious letting him off the trailer. One of the many reasons that I brought these two boys first is there is a very limited number of dry lots or fencing of any kind for all of the horses. Huckleberry will be letting these two stay in the yard with him for the next couple of days.
Okay, little
I
buddy.
am staying for 2 days to do some really quick fencing projects and to keep an eye on these two boys, but then I'm heading right back to Montana to make sure all the other horses are ready to travel down here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.